minutes early, people.
I appreciate that, man. I think it's awesome.
It probably gives me. I actually learned that from like a old football coach who was like, if you're 15 minutes early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. And so I've because of that, I have like this like anxiety about like being late. So I'm always like 15 minutes early.
I love that, man. So I want to give like one more minute for audience members to join in,
Yeah,
and then we're going to jump right into it, man. I know you and I had that preliminary call, and I know that you have so much cool stuff to share for us. You're really doing something different from all the other NFT projects in the space. So I'm not going to steal your thunder too much, but for people that are just having a seat in the arena, Nick's got a lot in store for us. So stay tuned.
Also, Brad Boggs is out there listening. He's our photogrammetrist. Brad, maybe you want to request, and that way request to speak, and that way if anyone has any questions about the photogrammetry or 3D process, they can ask Brad directly.
Yeah, of course, Brad. If you're in the audience, man, go ahead and request, and I'll bring you up.
And
Okay, I think. Oh, there we go. There we go. We got Brad in the house.
Cool.
Consulting commercial gym equipment sales. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I feel like Brad's just like a renaissance man and got a bunch of side hustles.
Oh yeah. Once we get into it, I'll tell you how we kind of connected. We've known each other. So that football coach I was referencing was actually his father, who was my football coach in high school. Brad and I have known each other since we were, God, I don't know, 14. There was as this process was getting going, we found this kind of wild way where we connected on the nights who say nah. It's always like, I was talking about this yesterday in a different space where the universe finds ways to like bring people back together or working together on stuff. It's pretty cool.
I love that, man. Okay, we're at the top of the hour. Audience members, good afternoon. Well Coin Talk community, Knights of Nah community. My name is Noah. I'm here today with Nick and Brad of Knights of Nah. Gentlemen, before we get started, give us a quick background of yourselves, how you found yourselves working in the crypto industry, and all the great work you've done up until that point.
Yeah, so I'm the keeper of arms for the largest private collection of ancient arms and armor in the world, and that, believe it or not, happened in a pretty roundabout way. But I met this collector in L.A., and there was an opportunity to apprentice with the keeper of arms from the Tower of London, who was coming out regularly to, both appraise and preserve the collection. A lot of the collection ends up in museums and eventually is donated. So I started there. I was in a different type of collecting, but still, there's so many comparisons you can draw between like the NFT space, and collecting in the NFT space and kind of like artifact collecting, because you have these special sort of one of one artifacts and stories, and there's a lot of stories and behind the artwork in NFT. So as I've, gained experience over the past 12 years doing preservation on these ancient artifacts, I've realized that there's sort of like there's something missing. There's a gap between, let's say, I don't know what percentage of listeners here today, but there's probably a pretty healthy percentage of listeners that are either playing games like Assassin's Creed, God of War, watching shows like Game of Thrones or Vikings, or that have some interest, experience, connection with kind of ancient weaponry, even if it's in a fantasy world. A lot of times they're pretty accurate in terms of the weapons and stuff that they're using. And then the gap between that and that enthusiasm and the real artifacts, right? And typically these artifacts are only available to hyper wealthy people, or or they're in museums, right? So you don't really get a chance to interact with them. And I thought, as the burgeoning Web3 space was becoming more and more accessible and more on my radar a few years ago, the seed of this idea was like, well, what if we could bridge this gap? What if we could use photogrammetry, turn these spectacular artifacts into 3D artifacts and allow the Web3 world to interact with them, and hopefully have, eventually people interacting with these artifacts in the metaverse. And so that was the seed, right? That's what started this project. And I have kind of this bifurcated profession where I'm a screenwriter for film and television on one side of things, and then on the other side I have this gallery workshop space in downtown Los Angeles where I preserve these artifacts. And so as this project started to kind of bloom in my mind and in the development process, it became this twofold project where on one side we're creating these 3D artifacts. They're one of a kind. No other project, no one else in the world can do this because we have this collection that we're backed by, right? And then on the other side of it, we have these 2D avatars that are representative of these different ancient cultures, and we're going to be minting those also. And there's this really rich lore that is behind the 2D release. So I've had this opportunity to marry my love for the artifacts and the stories behind those and the preservation of those, and my love of storytelling into a really unique multimedia Web3 company. And Brad was one of the first people we brought on, because, as you were reading in his bio, the pandemic hits, and Brad, who was previously a gym owner and has been in the fitness industry for a long time in like equipment sales, things like that. He started teaching himself how to do photogrammetry, and Brad started creating 3D gym spaces. And so I went to him and was like, could you do that for, let's say, Viking swords or Roman war helmets? And Brad, I don't see why not. So we flew Brad down and he got started, uh, and we started building from there. And Colin's listening too. He's one of our co-founders, been working with the project since day one. The same thing, was one of the first people to jump on board and understand. He got to see the space, so he came and saw all of the artifacts. We're talking about, when you walk in this space, we're talking about thousands and thousands of some of the most spectacular, ancient weapons in human history. And whether you're into weapons or not, you can't not be kind of impressed when you when you step inside. And so, the three of us, along with Catherine and Jack, really began this project that way, and found our mission, which is to really bridge this gap, democratize access to these ancient objects that just a few people in the world previously had access to, and have our community become these torchbearers for these ancient cultures and their stories. And in a way, they're kind of becoming the lore, or the I don't even know how you say it, but sort of the storytellers, the megaphones for these ancient cultures. So that's maybe too long-winded of a version, but that's sort of what started the project.
Yeah, not at all, Nick. And I suppose my first question is, you guys have these ancient artifacts that you've collected, and they're quite unique in your facility in downtown LA. And you're essentially allowing the minting of NFTs to represent these artifacts. Now, if an individual or a fan is to mint an NFT, does that mean that they own part of the artifact? What is the connection of that NFT to the artifact itself, apart from just representing it?
It's really, so we're starting out just representing it, because part of what the project wants, what we want to do, is we want to give back. We want to give it, we're sort of taking this sort of Web3 Indiana Jones approach, where our plan, and we started this at NFT NYC as we were just, project was very much in its infancy. The goal is to mint the 3D version to our community, and there'll be different rarities involved, and I'll go over that later just to kind of give everyone the technical perspective. But then with our community, we will start donating these objects to museums and cultural heritage organizations. So the idea here is to get as much out of private hands as possible, and into the public eye so that these stories can live on forever, right? If they're in a storage crate in someone's closet or even just on someone's wall, that's great. And I think there's still a place for that, for collecting in that sense. So I'm not against it. I'm what the sort of ethos of this project is, though, is preserve the storytelling, get the storytelling out there. So, for example, at NFT NYC, we brought this Gothic Warhammer that we're also going to be minting the 3D version to our community. Well, we donated it to the Metropolitan Museum in New York that night. So when someone from our community eventually mints that 3D artifact, the only other place it will exist is behind glass at the Metropolitan Museum. We also donated $10,000 to the Wooster Museum that night, right? So allowing them to, hopefully keep some more people on staff for a little bit longer. These are things that we want to do in the future. So our idea here with this project is, as we start to mint out, and let's say we partner with, some. let's say it's a Mayan heritage museum in in southern Mexico, and there's some piece of Mayan history, a piece of pre-Columbian gold that is for sale at Christie's at auction, and they will come to the Knights and say, hey, we don't have the funds to buy that. Would the Knights be interested in getting that for us? In which case we could go to our community, go, hey, we were just contacted by this cultural heritage organization, and our community hopefully goes, hell yeah, let's do it. We would go out and hopefully buy that off the private market, take it for a week, create the 3D version of it for our community, and then gift the actual object back to the culture where it belongs.
Love the mission, and I think it's so unique. I haven't really seen anyone doing anything like this in the industry. And Nick, I wanted to dive in more to the NFT drop. Tell us about the 1,111 unique warrior avatars that you guys plan on dropping. What's going to be the minting cost? What are they going to be the utilities? Give us some more insight into that, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So the way it's going to work is, and I'll kind of back up just slightly from that, which is we're calling this season 1. Okay, so in season 1, we're going to have 4 different ancient cultures represented. And there'll be 1,111 2D warrior avatars from each culture. And then there will be 3D artifacts that will drop that correspond with those cultures. So it'll look like this. In January, week 1, when we start minting, there'll be 1,111 2D samurai warriors dropped, right, for the community to buy, to mint. And then week 2 will be 3D samurai artifacts that we will drop. And those artifacts are actually already on the website, knightsayna.com. So if you want to see what that first drop of artifacts is going to look like, they are there. And then we'll talk about the different rarities. But so week 1, 2D warrior avatars. Week 2, 3D artifacts. Week 3, 1,111 warriors from another culture, which we'll reveal later. Week 4, another 3D artifact drop. So we will do this for 8 weeks, right? 4 culture drops, 4 artifact drops. And there's going to be all kinds of incentives here. So one thing we're doing right now for the listeners, for the Whale Coin Talk community, is we have a pre-mint link right now that's live for these listeners only to enter a raffle to win our first 3D artifact. It's a samurai sword, and it puts you into Tomo Gozen's Ashigaru, and her entire lore is also on the website, but she's our hero that represents that first culture. So, for example, if you become Ashigaru, if you win the raffle for this samurai sword, you will get a free mint in our 2D avatar drop, the first one. We also have a Slay the Dragon game it's a Wallet Connect game that we'll be unveiling with that first culture drop. The Ashigaru sword also might help you slay the dragon, wink wink to the people listening right now. So the just so everyone knows, before I keep going, the password for the Ashigaru pre-mint is Katana, all lowercase, Katana. And by the way, the listeners will also be able to claim, the first 50 people to get there can claim the PO app between 10:45 and 11 a.m. If you have the Poe app, same password, Katana, from 10:45 to 11 a.m. So the first 50 people to claim the Poe app will be getting a Squire role in our Discord and be put on the Knights list. So that takes me to that second part of your question, which is, what are they going to be minted for? Our plan is to create a heavily discounted public mint for our Knights list, for the people on the Knights list. So if the public mint is point 0.08, for the Knights list, you'll be 0.04. You'll be able to mint the 2D avatars. We are still, basically on the 3D artifacts, there's 5 different rarities. So there will be common, which is an addition of 100, and those will be free for our community. Those are just earned. So we'll have different, quizzes or fun things, just for the community that we'll be doing. We've got some AR filters coming through that are really cool, and maybe, we'll say first 100 people to, take a picture of them with this AR filter, tag us in it, is going to get this common artifact, this free artifact, right? And by the way, the artifacts are all super dope. Then there's the uncommon artifact. That'll be an addition of 50. Also will be free to the community. And those will be earned in different ways. So for the samurai community, this first one that we're dropping, that's this Ashigaru one. So there'll be 50 of those. Then there will be rare, which will be an addition of 25. Then there'll be epic, an addition of 10. And then there'll be one legendary artifact, a 1 of 1. And again, these artifacts have different qualities in the community. So again, we have a Slay the Dragon game. We're going to have this game continue to evolve. If you have certain artifacts, those are going to help slay the dragon, which will earn you badges and stuff. So there's going to be some cool play to earn stuff in not like super grindy play to earn, by the way, like pretty simple play to earn stuff. Which is going to be really fun. And you can stake your warrior, put your warrior into battle training so you can increase your odds of slaying the dragon. We've got some really, really cool things in store, including some Easter egg rooms on the website. If you're out exploring the website today, you might stumble on one of those Easter eggs. Just keep a sharp eye out. I don't want to drop too many hints on that yet. Maybe there'll be more hints in the Discord later. But yeah, anyway, so that's it. So 8 weeks of drops, 4 cultures, 4 artifact drops. There's going to be so many fun ways to we'll have an armory room where if you're an artifact holder, you'll be able to kind of go into this little sort of museum setting and see your artifacts and see who owns which artifacts. Like I said, we have an Easter egg room for other artifact holders. We envision, again, a world where people are going to start to gravitate towards certain cultures. Like, Noah, you might want to be a samurai. Someone else might want to be one of the other cultures, and we can do fundraising events between cultures, and the winning culture gets airdropped artifacts, and we donate all that to some Native American tribe, maybe in the American Southwest, and these are some of the I think things that our community has to look forward to.
Wow, lots to unpack there, Nick. First of all, if you can share, do you have that link in the form of a tweet? If not, send it over in our share chat. We'll try to make it into a tweet and then pin it to the space so people can easily access that. Also, as far as the rarities go, is it random? Like, do you just randomly get hit with the rarity after you mint the NFT, or can you choose which rarity you want and pay a premium for that?
Yeah. So as far as the tweet goes, yeah, Colin, I'll have Colin. He'll pin a tweet for the pre-mint to the top of the Knights Twitter, and then maybe everyone could just kind of pull from that. Is that easiest?
Yeah, that works. Colin, I just brought you up. Welcome to the panel, sir.
All right, we got Colin. Colin's live. He's here.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'll pin the pre-mint at the top. That's jumping up to do that.
Yeah. Colin's very much one of the big brains behind the project. So again, he's been a critical asset to the team and been building with us since day one. And so as far as the generative collection, yeah, totally random. There's some really fun traits that are all historically accurate, by the way. Really cool. There's going to be some art unveiling. We actually even just revealed my one of one on the Twitter. That's like kind of my avatar representing me. I'm the Green Knight, and uh, um, and that gives you a little bit of a sneak peek of kind of what the illustrations are going to look like. So yeah, there'll be the traditional kind of rarity functions for the generative collection. For the 3D artifacts, that week we're gonna do each artifact on its own, so you will know, like, again, the common and uncommon are earned. They're going to be free for the community. You can just earn those, all good. For the rare, epic, and legendary, we will have a rare day. So that day it'll just be rare artifacts for minting. So it'll just be, look, the first 10 people to get them. And then same for the epic, and then for the legendary, we will just have an auction. So the legendary will just be auctioned with a floor price, and the goal there is that, again, for anyone who owns the legendary artifact, there's some additional advantages, into the community, that actually, even on the epic, where you'll get additional discounts, other free mints. So there's going to be value built into all of this. There'll be value built into being on the Knights list, value built into the artifacts, value built into the separate cultures, even, so that when we have, again, we have the benefit, again, of being sort of in this artifact world is, let's say we've got, a samurai, a piece of, like, you know, Edo period jewelry. And we go, hey, this is really cool. For all the samurai that have slayed the dragon, we're going to airdrop you this, like, 3D piece of jewelry, that's for your collection. And hopefully we're not too far away from some really cool interoperability in the Web3 space, where you could take, your avatar from another collection and put this samurai jewelry or samurai sword in that avatar's hand, and run around in the metaverse with it.
So, Nick, I'll be honest with you. I'm multitasking right now, trying to qualify for that pre-mint, and also listening to you. Be completely honest.
No problem.
Be completely honest.
Now, just so everyone knows, the POAP doesn't go live until 10:45. So if everyone's listening, the POAP's not is from 10:45 to 11 a.m. So there's a 15-minute window. The first 50 listeners at 10:45 will get the POAP.
Got it. Fantastic.
And so pre-mint's live now. Katana is the password. The POAP would only give us 50 POAP, so we were stuck with that. 50 is our number. So we're back in the rarity game, but that wasn't by choice. We wanted more of you to have the ability to get the POAP. So the first 50, grab it, and we love all of you just the same, just so you know.
So for those wondering what a POAP is, and I actually learned about this at NFT.nyc, a POAP is, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Nick, but it's a way to identify or verify that you were at a certain place at a given time. So let's say that you were at the Avengers Endgame premiere, the biggest premiere of the time at that time, and you want to say, hey, I was here. You can mint that POAP. You can showcase it on your NFT profile. And it's kind of this symbol of notoriety. Or let's say that you went to, I don't know, you were at SpaceX's launch, and SpaceX did a POAP drop. It's kind of a way to show people, like, hey, I went here, I went there, and this is my proof of it. And if you guys wanted to add anything to that, call in, Nick, Brad, just go ahead and do so.
No, that's exactly right. Yeah, it's a proof of attendance, and for us, we have this Squire roll, we have this Knights list we're building. That's our allow list is called the Knights list. We're just being cheeky, but the POAP, we're allowing that POAP to get you that Squire roll. And yeah, exactly. It's just that. It's a way to, like, verify, hey, I was there, I was listening, and I was active, and sometimes, you want it's something we've talked about, till we've been blue in the face, is like, hey, how do you build the best community possible, the healthiest community? And part of it's just got to be that you're hoping just to attract people, right? Just people that in this case might love history or love weapons or love games or there can be all kinds of reasons why you jump in. And sometimes even just little things like apps can also just help identify, and not always, I'm not saying this is the case, because for some people like me who are sometimes technically challenged, I might struggle sometimes to get the app, or I didn't update the app in time and all of a sudden I missed out. So I don't mean for it to exclude anyone, but what it can do sometimes is even just help identify, like, hey, here's some people, not all of them, but some people that are exceedingly excited about this project, and they are really active members of the community. And we also want to be aware of that and reward that, in general. So this is just one of many ways. We're going to have a ton more stuff. Like I said, we're going to be unveiling an AR filter as soon as my technically challenged self can figure out why Instagram is not letting me share my password. But things like that, where we'll give people the ability to do some other things this week and next week that will also get them on the Knights list and get them that discounted price for the public mint.
Nick, real quick, I have an audience member that wants to ask a question. She usually asks incredible questions, so I'm going to pass the mic to her. Aisha, go for it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Noah. I want to ask, which software are you using for generating 3D models from pictures? Is it Autodesk Recap Pro, Agisoft, Metashape, Alice Vision, Mushroom, etc.?
Colin, do you know what Wampi and Manuel are? We have two artists that have hand drawn every single trait.
Nick, I think she's talking about the photogrammetry.
Oh, the photogrammetry. Brad, do you want to jump in on your photogrammetry process?
Yeah, absolutely. So the software that we use to generate the mesh is reality capture. So we'll take a couple hundred photos in a 360 around each artifact from different angles, and then put that into reality capture, generate the mesh, get the textures, and then I'll even do a little cleanup in ZBrush, something like that if necessary. Usually we're using high-res cameras and everything. We don't usually have a ton of that, but that's kind of the process, if that makes sense.
Well, and Brad, you've been doing a lot of masking and cleaning up the photos beforehand in like Lightroom and Photoshop, yeah?
Yeah. That I guess I skipped ahead to the short version of, but yes, we do. I'll even, as soon as I get the photos and kind of check them out, I'll take them through Lightroom, clean up maybe the lighting if we need it, and then some of the objects are really, really unique, and how they come through, on each picture, their sizes, their shapes. We have swords, we have armor. Nick, don't let me jump too ahead of like any
Maybe stick with the samurai artifacts for now.
Just there's so many unique shapes in this thing. So sometimes to get reality capture to mesh and to get just like a beautiful, I have to do a little bit of extra little cleanup in some masking and stuff like that. But try to keep it short and not too technical for you, Nick.
Aisha, does that answer your question completely?
Yeah, it answers. I was also wondering, when you will convert 3D artifact models into an NFT, don't you think it will compromise the quality of the 3D artifacts? As on blockchain, large files cannot be stored.
Well, our plan is also, so you'll have the actual GLB file, and we've got we definitely have the larger versions of them. You're right, there is some down resing that takes place because of OpenSea and sort of what the what the requirements are in the marketplace to list, but we will have the most high res versions. So hopefully, as as the space continues to, evolve and maybe larger file sizes are accepted, then we can disseminate those too back to the community holders. So if you had, like you said, maybe something that's maybe a little more compressed. I will say though, if you have a chance to check out the artifacts on the website, they look really, really good. We don't feel like we've lost any detail. And in an ideal world, where again, where there's some interoperability or there's some ability for us to license some of these 3D weapons to games or other communities, that then we would use, the most high res version possible. And so we are keeping those assets. We have them already built out, ready to go. So we're trying to be a bit ahead of the game on that side of things.
All right. I've seen the artifacts on the website. These are really amazing. And thank you for answering my questions.
Oh yeah, of course. Thanks for being here.
Hey Jimmy, what's going on, man? Welcome to the panel. Mike's yours.
What's happening? Thank you for the invite. I joined here relatively recently, so apologies if this has already been brought up, but it's a Monty Python reference, right? I know it's like the night say neat. Is that everyone saying not instead? Is that the thing?
It totally is. Yeah. It was totally a Monty Python reference. Who doesn't love the Holy Grail? And so when we were thinking of some names, we wanted to be a fun community also, have some comedy here. And so that was totally it. I was like, what if it was the nights you say now instead of the nights you say me? And yeah. And you know what? The name stuck. No one. And we kind of, I'm not going to lie, Jimmy, I think it would be fun in the future if sort of like our community just responds to things on Twitter with the word nah, You could kind of be our battle cry.
Yeah, there's this hilarious Facebook page that someone showed me ages ago called Oi Na, where it's like these Australians just saying like ridiculously funny things. Oi Na. But so I noticed you got the Green Knight up here, and the Green Knight is like pretty much it's got a tree looking features, right?
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of like positive impact through Web3, and like maybe if you guys aren't like necessarily a social enterprise, is there any plan in the future to try to do something good for the environment, whether it be funding trees, offsetting, anything like that?
That's a great question, and be very open to that. I grew up in the Pacific Northwest with Brad, where like pretty much most of my friends stuff were kind of in the awareness of the environmental impact of anything we were doing, right? I mean, so I love that thought, and I'm going to be totally honest with you. We haven't really gone down that road of thinking about that yet, but would love to have that conversation with you if you have some ideas of how we could offset or do something for the project. I think that's exactly the kind of stuff we're looking for from the community, is to have these kinds of suggestions. I've been so focused, honestly, on just the artifact side and how to sort of set up, even legally, how to buy an artifact and donate an artifact to the culture where it belongs, that, yeah, my mind hasn't, I've been a little bit myopic in that sense. So great question. I wish I already had an answer, but would love to talk to you more about what that answer could be. And I think the Knights wants to be a positive impact in as many theaters as possible. So absolutely, I think I'm as terribly frightened as anyone else about the state of the environment in our world, as someone who's like an avid snorkeler, scuba diving lover, even just looking at thinking of like reefs or any other ecosystem that's dying in front of our eyes. I'd love to do something positive.
Respects, man. And I didn't know that you guys were giving the artifacts back to the people where they belong. That in itself seems like a really cool thing for you guys to do. That's awesome. So I shot you a follow. Yeah, I'm currently in Kenya leading a tree planting project. We partner with Rotary International. Through them, we have an MOU with United Nations Environmental Program to basically pioneer the world's most cost-effective, sustainable, and transparent tree planting. So we plant mangrove trees. They cost 9.4 cents, and each mangrove tree removes 8 to 10 times the amount of carbon from the atmosphere compared with old terrestrial forests. We have an AI tree counter, and we're developed non-fungible updates. So we count all the trees, put it on the blockchain. We can airdrop that to holders and stuff like that. I'm a part of the Social Bees community, and like they're a DAO, and they didn't set out to do this kind of work. Like they're just like a DAO, and it's just like a, it was just created like that as an NFT project. But then when the community comes together, like now they're looking to fund various good causes, including trees and giving people, access to technology and education in developing countries. So yeah, it's cool to know like how things start and then how they can evolve over time and how these projects can really make a massive impact in the world. So I love that you're open to that. Yeah, I'm happy to talk anytime.
Yeah, before you go, will you tweet to me a link so we can we'll donate for the mangrove trees right now, man. Let's get it done today.
Oh shit, it's going down. All right.
Let's go down, dude.
Yeah, it's fortrees.club. I'll drop it in the chat here. For
Love
trees. Yeah. And so yeah, you will get, or if you go to fortreesclub.eth, then we'll automatically have your wallet address, and we could send your update in the form of a non-fungible update where you get the video of every single tree. Either way, you'll get a video of every tree, but we could, I want to make sure updates are non-fungible, right? That was one of like my biggest frustrations. 8 years I was raising funds for good causes, and they would just send the same updates to everyone, and that was really frustrating. It was obvious you're not actually getting to see your impact. But with this new technology, now your updates can be non-fungible. You can't send the same ones to multiple people. So yeah, that's what we're really leaning into. But yeah, thank you, brother. I dropped it in. It's fortrees.club, the website, or fortreesclub.eth for non-fungible updates.
Love it. Thanks so much, Jimmy. You'll get our donation today, man.
Legend. Thank you, brother.
Hey, Jimmy. thanks for dropping in, man. Guys, we're a bit over time, but I want to still get some community questions in because I think this is a great project and it's been a lot of fun. Nick, really quick, I have a community member that's asking a couple. One, they want to know, is there there's no minting cost, but they want to know if there are gas fees for the POAP, and they also want to know that if they mint the if they mint the POAP, can they transfer it to their? So they want to mint the POAP, but they want to transfer it to their main wallet. Are they able to do that?
Colin, do you want to? I see a thumb up there.
Yes, they can transfer it to their main ETH wallet, no problem. I'm pretty sure you can do that in the app really easy. There's not even a gas fee, I don't think, to mint the POAP. It's just if you were to transfer it to your ETH wallet, there'd be a small gas fee. And the main thing with the POAP is if you grab one and you join our Discord, you can get the Squire role, which will put you on like the Knights list, the allow list. So we have like a little token gated collab land set up for the POAPs in there.
But these are all transferable, correct? Because I guess the individual wants to use like a side wallet to connect to all these stuff, and then they want to transfer it to their like hardware wallet, their main wallet for safekeeping.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can change your wallet and POAP at any time, and you can transfer it to a side wallet and then transfer it to a main wallet. I'd look a little bit closer into POAP, but yeah, it's pretty easy to like transfer those between wallets like you would any regular NFT.
Great. So we are over time, but I want to let the remaining audience members just ask your best high level question, and then we can have Nick, Colin, and Brad wrap things up for us. It's been a great AMA. Love this. So sorry, Rahmat, you're first up, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Noah. Okay, so I was wondering, will owner of the artifacts NFT be able to equip artifacts on their body in the VR as well to maybe record the videos and take pictures, or maybe even create virtual influencer?
Yeah, so there'll definitely be AR functionality. You'll have the GLB file. So with programs like AR Spark, you could actually create your own AR filter with your artifact, which will be cool. And we're going to have some for the community also. We're going to be creating the AR versions for right now. We got the filter ready for Instagram. Again, it's just my fault. I'm there's something I'm having issues with Instagram sharing access. So we'll hopefully have that up this week. Yeah, did that answer the question?
Yeah, got it. Sorry, I said VR instead of the AR. Okay, got it. Thank you so much. Over to you, Noah.
Yeah, of course. And Ramon, obviously, in our dream world, also you'll have that GLB file. So, again, as the metaverse matures and there's other options for equipping your avatar in some metaverse space, that you would be able to use your artifact in that space also.
Yeah, got it. Thank you so much. Over to you.
Yeah,
Noah.
of course. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you, Rahmat. Captain Levi, you're next, sir.
All right, thanks, Noah. Okay, guys, you've done a really great presentation. I just have one question. Earlier in the first part of the AMA, you actually made mention of the fact that you're going to interact with museums to return artifacts to where they originally are. What's your take on countries that have sent petitions to European countries requesting that specific artifacts be brought back to their homeland? Putting your hands into this might actually, cause, would I say, legal problems. Do you guys have any plans to go into this, without giving yourselves unnecessary backlash from, superior authority?
Yeah, you know what? It's such a you're absolutely right. It's such a sensitive subject, right? Because we've seen countries like Greece and Egypt petition the British Museum to give the Rosetta Stone back, or the reliefs that were once above the Parthenon, and the British Museum sort of just doesn't respond because the entire museum is pretty much looted, which is interesting, to say the least, about how to navigate it. And our thought is, well, my stance is that we live in a world where the artifacts should be with the cultures they belong. If they were stolen some time ago, I think we can do things now like 3D print and create really good casts of artifacts, and again, the Nigerian bean and bronzes should be given back to the country where they belong. It's the artwork that belongs to the culture. We're hoping that our project in particular can help provide a runway for that. So our thought is, if we can be a proof of concept where we show, let's say it's private collectors. Let's start there, right? Because museums are going to be a tougher nut to crack. But there's a lot of really special artifacts in the hands of private collectors. And sometimes they're motivated just financially. Maybe some collectors spent $100,000 on an artifact and they don't want to just let it go. And we say, okay, well, what if the Knights who say nah can turn that into 3D and we can sell it and raise money? And we can raise you the money. We'll buy it from you by raising money. And now the community gets the benefit of having the 3D version of the artifact. And then we can take it off your hands if you reach a certain dollar amount that's right to you or something. I don't know how we would build this out properly so that it's done well. But this is what we're thinking about and, trying to do. And then we would get the 3D artifact and give it back to the culture where it belongs. Okay. So if we can do that with private collectors and show that, hey, you can be made financially whole and you can feel good about this, then could we start to convince museums to do the same thing? And part of what's having these 3D scans is that it also can map for 3D printing, and we happen to again be in touch with a couple of museums already that are starting to express some preliminary interest, and even one museum, the Worcester Museum in Massachusetts, who is now doing their first bits of photogrammetry, and they're actually doing it for different reasons. Well, one, for preservation. Once you have at least the 3D version, it can be shared and in all kinds of ways. And in our case, kind of immortalized on the blockchain, which is the ultimate form of preservation in some ways. But secondly, for people that are visually impaired, so that they can now go to a museum and hold a 3D version of a 3D printed version of a sword or a helmet that they never got to previously experience. So to go back to it, we stand on the side of getting these artifacts back to the cultures where they belong. That's what we want to encourage. That's what we want the project to represent. I think that it is a sensitive road, and that we are going to do everything we can to first prove it on the private side, so that we can then create a pathway where museums could say, hey, maybe we should do this version also, and they can feel like their museum still gets to live, and then the culture that the artifact was stolen from gets their artifact back.
I really appreciate your honest answer. The approach to the private collection is actually a good one. I'm wishing you guys the best, and I hope that the night will say now stay to this world. Over to you, Noah.
Thanks so much. Thanks for being here and for the question.
Last but not least, Venice.
Okay, thank you so much, Noah. Actually, as you guys will be creating the NFTs of rarest and artifacts, and you have been discussing about different artifacts that you will be creating the NFTs for. So it got me curious to know that is it possible for people, if they have been collecting rare artifacts and they have a collection of some good and rare artifacts, and reach out to you to create NFTs based on their collection in exchange for some royalties from NFTs. So will you guys consider those requests, or you will just reject those requests not to create their NFTs for the artifacts they are having?
No, I think that's actually what we want to happen. So I think in our ideal world is other collectors will start to see this as a pathway and absolutely hopefully come to us and say, hey, we would like to, our thought is the more artifacts that we can get into the 3D space and share with the world, the better. I think it will spread the stories of other cultures. Again, I brought up the bean and bronzes earlier. I knew nothing about them really. I met two women at NFT NYC, part of the Bronze DAO, that reached out to us because they read an article about our project in Forbes, and they thought we want to meet you guys and talk about how we can maybe do 3D scans of the bean and bronzes. And because of that, we found a private collector that owns one that's willing to let us do a 3D scan. And so all of a sudden, you see what I'm saying? There's private collectors that start to hear about it. And one of the things that they said to me, which was really beautiful and interesting, was, look, they can't control whether or not the private collector wants to give the artifact back to the culture. We don't have that level of control. We can't force anybody to do that. But if private collectors come to us and allow us to 3D scan their collections, we will at least still have a platform to share the stories of those cultures to the world. And I think that in itself, if that's all we accomplish, I think it's still a very beautiful future where we can find ourselves understanding more about the various cultures that we're surrounded by that maybe we didn't know before.
Okay, and you guys are really doing something great. I'm really a fan of artifacts, and thank you so much for answering my question as well.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Appreciate you.
Nick, Colin, Brad, it's been an incredible AMA. I've had so much fun. We've had some great audience questions. You guys are doing something extremely unique with a great mission. I'd love the idea of taking these artifacts, getting them in front of eyes, letting them be something that, one, have stood the test, or letting people see that they are something that has, one, stood the test of time, and two, are being preserved for people to learn about. And I mean, if we don't have our history, what do we have as human beings? I think it's so important. And yeah, I mean, you guys are leveraging Web3 technology to do something that I have not seen. Again, not to harp on it too much. I'm going to pass the mic to you, Nick. Give us some closing statements, and then I will close out the AMA.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to say thank you to everybody who listened today first. And we just appreciate you guys. Love for you to be a part of our community and see what we're building. I just encourage you to do the pre-mint. We have a raffle specially for the listeners today. The claim for the Ashigaru sword will be December 22nd. So we'll hold the raffles. We'll identify the winners. You'll be able to claim it on the 22nd. Our public mint will be right in the new year. And in the meantime, we're going to be teasing out just all kinds of fun stuff. We want you here. We love the Web3 space and love our community we have so far, and excited to meet everyone else. And please, if you're in Discord or on Twitter, feel free to reach out to us. Any one of us, we're all here. So if you want to know more about photogrammetry, if you want to know more about the inner workings of the project, you want to hit up Colin, or if you want to talk about the storyline and you want to hit me up with story ideas, I'm here for it all. So just excited to be here. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Whale Coin Talk community, remember that everything you hear on this broadcast is for educational purposes only. None of it is meant to be taken as financial advice. These are the knights who say nah.